Like you'd have some games that throw the characters at you
And
just to
what?
give you
He
variety,
said
you
he'd
know?
lost something out at the ruin. A necklace, a family heirloom.
Aha!
Seems to
Now
have
this
been
is the
valuable
amulet
after
of
Oh,
all. The
transformation we've been
five
hearing
of them
about.
spent days searching the ruins.
5.
Yes,
And
there were five of them.
as you can
They
see,
read
the
the words above the
inheritors have
bistro.
been here.
Five
mm.
bigwigs in smart suits. One even had a uniform on.
Did they find the necklace?
No, I don't think so. They left after a couple of days.
Interesting.
Indeed.
Do you know his name?
No, I've forgotten. It was quite a while ago.
They are now.
Thank you, Monsieur le
So the
Capitaine.
bad
You've been a
boys
great
have been
help.
here
You're
before,
welcome, my boy.
looking for the same thing we have.
Monsieur le Capitaine,
What can I
okay.
do for you?
Yeah.
I've got a few more questions concerning our last conversation.
So again,
All
no,
right.
so again, this is where the
Ask me
frustrating thing
anything
is,
you
where
like,
like
my boy.
that was one successful path. Okay,
Pierre says
this
you're
is
from
where we've
Carmore,
said like,
like
okay,
he
we
is.
found this one
Is that
bit of
true?
a
Yes,
bit of
Yeah.
that's
information.
right.
We're not talking about the
I
druids,
grew
all
up
that sort
here.
of stuff.
As a youngster, I
Now
wanted
we
to
have to
be a
find another
fisherman.
successful
Used to
path,
work on
you
my
know,
father's
and
trawler.
the problem with
Later, I
that
went
is
to naval
you
college to
literally have to
become a
start off.
captain
That's
of
why
a
I said,
merchant
just have a few more
navy in
questions regarding our
France.
conversation, and
I
you
have a
go back
small
from the
house at the
start of
end
the
of the
chain
road,
and you go
just
again. This
behind
is like,
Francois'
no, you should
bistro.
go back from the last split and then go from there. Like that's
You
Yep.
used to work for the
you know,
merchant
that's the
navy.
most frustrating thing. It's like it
Yes.
is literally.
I have been to
Again, I
practically
don't think
every
they did
single
it
port
maliciously. It's
all
just that I
over the
don't think
world,
they just
from New
know
York
how to
to
program
Zanzibar,
a
from
dialogue
Rotterdam
tree.
to
Like
Cape
it's
Town.
a
I have
like
sailed all
there's
known and
just
unknown
a few rookie
oceans,
mistakes in this game,
rivers,
and I think it like
backwaters, lakes and
lads, come
canals.
on.
I
And the weird
have
thing is
seen
the
things
programming and stuff
no
like that
other
gets
man
better
on
as the
earth
game goes
has
on.
ever
So
seen.
it's like they
Sounds
programmed the
exciting.
game literally from the start
Yes,
and
but
worked their
all
way up,
that
and
was
they
a
kind of
long
like
Yeah,
got
time
and
a
got
ago.
little
better
bit
as they
better.
In a
went.
few years'
Yeah.
Yeah.
time, I shall retire
And
and
again,
begin
like this is
working on my
this is the
memoir.
studio's first game that they've
And
actually
now
made.
you only captain
But
the ferry
this
from
is where you
Carmore to
have like, you
Portsmouth.
know, like stuff
Yes,
on the
that's
cutting
right.
room floor. Like
Is there anything wrong with
if you
that?
knew you were
Don't you
like
like talking
the
to people
overall
who
quality
openly
was getting
captain
better, you
ferries?
could have just
It's an important
nixed the
job.
first half
You
and
need
did that
ferries.
again, you
It
know?
just
But
so
this is
happens
where
there's
we're
a
at,
lot
like.
of water between the islands and the continent, and somebody has to steer those ferries. But I don't suppose a landlubber like you would understand
Landlubber.
that.
I didn't mean to offend you, Captain.
That's Monsieur le
Oh
Capitaine
no, you
Charles
pissed him
Deneuve
off now.
to you, my
Yeah,
boy.
so that was a
Better
failure.
get a bit dry behind the ears before you start talking to seasoned sailors.
And I
Got
say, if
that?
you're wondering why
Yes.
like the thing is just so
I should think so too.
like sun beach in a sense where everything is just also
Oh,
white,
well,
that's how it looks
thanks
like
for
in
the
the game.
conversation.
You're
Like
welcome.
everything is really,
Monsieur le
really bright for
Capitaine,
some
What
reason.
can
And
I do
then
for you?
again, we'll get to certain points of the game where it's really dark. Like
I've got
again,
a
that could
few
be
more
just a graphical
questions
thing from
concerning our
like
last conversation.
trying to
All right.
optimize it
Ask
over
me
last few
anything you
years,
like, my
but
boy.
that's where we're at with it.
Pierre says you're from Carmore, like he is. Is that true?
Yes, that's right. I grew up here. As a youngster, I wanted to be a fisherman and used to work on my father's trawler. Later, I
Oh,
went to naval college to become a captain of the
Yep,
merchant
we're
navy of
doing this
France.
again.
I have a small house at the end of the road, just behind Francois'
It's
bistro.
nuts, isn't it? Like it's they have to
you
repeat the
used to
same
work for the
conversation
merchant
multiple
navy.
times to get to different
Yeah.
Yes,
paths. It's like
I have been to
it's
practically
ridiculous.
every single port all over the world, from New York to Zanzibar,
And what's
from
also mad is
Rotterdam
that
to
as well.
Cape Town.
I thought for the
I have
longest time
sailed all
the dialogue
known
was
and
unskippable.
unknown
So I'm there like
oceans,
literally
rivers, backwaters,
like doing
lakes and
correspondence while I'm
canals.
waiting for this
I
fucking
have
spiel to
seen
end
things
because
no other
every
man on
traditional
earth
button
has ever
that I
seen.
think like
Sounds
clicks, space
exciting.
bars, enters, all them
Yes,
they
but
don't
all
work.
that was a long
Um,
time ago.
Thankfully,
In a
I
few
find
years'
out at
time,
some
I shall
stage during this
retire and
section
begin
that
working on my
the
memoir.
escape button skips dialogue,
Your
which I'm very
memoir?
relieved by.
That sounds interesting.
Oh,
Oh,
yes,
you'd
my
think
boy.
escape button
I've
would
seen
mean,
a lot, you
get
know.
out of the game.
Disasters,
Yeah,
storms,
that's what I
tides,
mean. Like
elements,
it's like
mysteries.
a
Really?
I don't know it's like
When'd
it's
you
not
tell
my
me
first
more?
like
I
choice in
have
a
seen
sense
ships
as
Yeah.
daft
disappear
as it
in the
sounds, you
Bermuda
know.
Triangle.
But again, they
I
took
saw
it
the
very
boats of
literally.
Egypt
It's
sink.
it's to
I
escape the
witnessed the
conversation.
accident of the Pride of
It's like
Paris in Cape
so we're
Town
now
harbor,
activating
where
introvert
all those
mode on
places
Brent
have
Halligan.
names. And that's not all. I have seen
That
tsunamis
would be a hell of a
40
game to
meters
play, though,
high
wouldn't it? It's just
and
like you have to
octopuses
be
with
you're trying to do a
16
detective game, but
tentacles.
you're socially awkward
Octopuses only had
introverts.
8
So every
tentacles.
conversation is
Quite, my
literally the
boy.
most
Like,
difficult gameplay
no,
possible.
I
no.
have seen things a common
That would actually
landlubber
be
would
hilarious.
Wouldn't
no,
it? Like, I actually think that'd be
cannot
really
even
funny.
begin to
Because, like,
imagine
you don't have
what
to do
they
like a
will
quick
say
time event to keep
with
the conversation
twice
going, or
the
like to
normal
not make
number
a
of
bad joke or a
tentacles.
pun, you know.
What
Mm.
do you say to that?
Or like
Well, that's
if it was like if it was like a girl like protagonist, like you go up against a boy that you're finding really
Do you know
attractive,
any
and you
more
have to like
stories?
not make an ass of yourself while
Of
also getting the
course,
information you
my
need.
logs are full of them. Take the story
Exactly.
of
same,
Nantucket
same with the
And,
same
Island,
and
for
with
like,
the,
instance.
Yeah.
I
And the
was
longer
studying there
you
for a
take to make a
number of
decision,
years.
the more you
Would you like to
and
hear
ah
Is it a
when you're in
long
a
story?
conversation, they get
Like I
annoyed
said,
at you.
I spent a
Yeah.
number of years there.
That would
Some
be
other
good,
time,
actually.
maybe.
That would be really good.
Thank you, Monsieur le Capitaine. You've been a great help.
You're
Oh,
welcome,
fucking
my
hell.
boy.
Monsieur le Capitaine,
Whoever's listening
What
to
can I do
this, who
for
makes
you?
games and develops games, there you
I've got a
go.
few more
There's an idea.
questions
There's a
concerning our
concept.
last
It's
conversation.
trademarked. We get the
All
royalties,
right.
but you
Ask
do all
me
the work.
anything.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Pierre said,
Yes, later. I have a.
There we go. Finally, I found it. I found the skip button.
I.
sorry.
Ah, there, ah. And now he's
You're
talking like he's in the House of
Remarkably
Commons.
great.
Ah, bed, ah, bed, yeah,
What do you know?
The castle.
That's saying.
Precise, but
Or he's in the jury and they
Tell me.
attorney.
Oh, yeah?
They would agree, yes. The item remained in the farm, but then the castle.
Was that what he was called?
That's what villagers would They say he was.
What do you mean, they say? Was he or wasn't he?
No. I know the true story. The castle was destroyed before the Inquisition ever began.
But how?
The truth was told in a very old Breton legend.
Oh.
And?
One day,
There we go.
a salt seller by the name of Gergen came to the castle of Carmor and asked the evil lord for a drink of water. But the lord set his dogs on the man.
Go on.
Out of revenge for the lord's cruelty, Gergen hurled a handful of salt at the castle, which tumbled down immediately, burying the lord beneath it.
But
Mhm.
why?
It was an ancient druid curse.
So there you go. That's the second bit of information we
How
need
can
of
salt destroy a whole
for
castle?
this for a puzzle coming up.
Magic of the druids.
Salt.
Salt is a destructive
Okay.
element. It corrodes, it decomposes, it
Again,
pines.
if
It
you're
can
just
make people
like, if you've
die
no
of
idea what the
thirst.
puzzle that's coming up, how are you to
Hmm.
know that you're like? But you know,
The salt
thankfully
seller
you've got a
had knowledge
Jonathan
of
driving
druid
this
customs.
machine, so
Well, he certainly knew how
Well,
to use the
that's the thing.
magic
Like,
of the
I kind
druids
of like saved
employed
ourselves the
to
trouble
deal
there
with their
because
enemies.
in the end, if you went to the castle, there's literally
So
nothing
the
to
evil
do.
lord
Like,
died.
you can see there's
Yes.
buildings there, and there's a few
He's
things,
buried
few of
in
them
a
that look a bit
mausoleum in the
flaky,
castle cemetery.
but there's no way in, there's no way out,
How do you know
there's
all this?
nothing to
From
do
age-old
essentially.
stories
So
that
you do have to
people tell
literally
around
like
here. Children
find out
heard
as
them
much as
from
you
their
can from these two
parents,
people,
who in turn
exercise
been
all
told them by their
possible
own parents.
pathways
They were handed
until you
down
get
through the
something.
generations.
And again, I just like it,
Sometimes
like
people
this section in
even come
particular,
from town
I just can't
like
get, I
you,
just can't accept
asking
from a
about the
design
old
point of view.
stories.
You know,
Writers,
like
researchers,
this
all
section,
sorts.
if it was
We
done,
even
if it was
had
done
a real
properly,
aristocrat
is
here
10
from
minutes.
England once.
Whereas the way it
Yeah.
is now
He was very
is
interested in the
at least
castle.
half an hour. And I
yeah.
cut stuff out, you know, like this is the,
What on earth was
this is the
He said
abridged
he'd
part of the
lost something out of
conversation.
the
You know what I mean?
ruins. A necklace, a family heirloom.
Yeah.
It
You know.
seems to have been very important.
Like
to
this is the
him.
this is the shit a
five of
visual
them
novel
spent days
would
searching
do,
the
but that's
ruins.
because like
Fine.
it's not programmed
Yes.
that way
There were
to do
five.
it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They rented rooms above the bistro. 5 big
So,
wigs
I don't know.
in smart suits.
Overall,
One
just a
even had
very
uniform on.
Did they find it?
and it's pity, you know,
No,
because like I think
I
like
don't think
I
so.
mentioned it before that
They
this game
left
has
after a
been
couple of
as
days.
for me trying really hard to be Broken Sword. Like
Do you
that's
know
kind
his
of what
name?
they're trying to
No,
do,
I've
and
forgotten. It
they
was
kind
quite
of
a
fall
while
flat
ago.
on a lot of it. You know, like they try and like
Thank you, Monsieur
go
le
up on some
Capitaine.
old
You've
on
been a
similar
great
tropes that
help.
they get that
You're
game
welcome,
had.
my
They
boy.
try and go on location a couple of times. They introduce some interesting sort of lore, I guess.
hmm
But it's like again, it's like someone like playing the Broken Sword game, but not quite understanding how it was made. You know,
Yeah.
if ever the case of like, oh, I can do something
Yeah.
like that.
Yes?
No,
Now what?
no, you can't. You need to do it.
I'd like to
You need
ask
to be a
something
bit smarter about it.
Captain
You know.
Deneuve.
Have you spoken to him?
Yes, I have.
So,
And you were right.
so in
He's a
essence,
very
well,
strange
the
man.
more of the story there was from the conversation with Captain Deneuve is that the salt in
Do you really
Carmore is
believe
special.
everything he says?
Well,
There's something different about the
I'm
salt
not
in
sure
in this
I
part of the
was.
world.
He's a sailor.
And as we noticed from the bottom of his boat there, it is
50
covered
years at sea
in
for a
salt.
long time.
Yeah.
Enough time
Um,
to experience
So,
And you
yeah,
remember you
that's
said it was a very
and for a lot of
salty,
things to become
like, patch of
a bit
water.
muddled up in
Yeah,
one's
I
mind.
mean, like it's not
Certainly
it's not
seems
that
to
fucking
say
creamy
some
color for a
strange
reason,
things.
you know.
I
It's
don't think all his stories are true.
like it's
But
practically
there's a
the Dead Sea,
core
the
of
Dead
truth
Sea
in many of them.
in certain
You'll have to
respects.
make up your own mind which of his stories to believe.
Is he a friend of yours?
Friend? Well, I've seen him almost every day for a number of years. He captains the ferry, I do my fishing.
So yeah, so
He's
our next
finished
part
for
of the
day.
puzzle here now is
Sometimes
trying to
goes
collect
to
some
the
salt.
bistro for a glass of pastis. Yes.
So
That's
we should
all
go
right.
to that bistro.
I suppose we are friends.
They've mentioned it a
You
few
can't-
You get
times.
on well with each other?
Yeah, no, they
I think
name
it's
drop the
pretty
bistro all the
difficult
time.
for
And
you to not
again,
like
maybe
it.
at one point in
Oh,
the
we
design,
get on
maybe
rather
there
well,
would have been
really.
one. But
We don't talk
if we
much.
like the bistro is in
If
the
anything,
background there,
he
we
does
can't
the
go
Yeah.
to
talking.
it. Like that's just
Spins his
background, you
yarns.
know.
The only thing about it that
Obviously,
sometimes
if
drives
Carmore
me
is this in the
crazy
castle, and
is
that's
his
it,
damned
which is a
cat.
real
The
shame.
captain has a cat.
Yeah.
Yes. He lets
And,
her out here on
right,
the
this
jetty
is
in
going
the
to be
morning
very. This is
and
going to
takes
show
her
my
back in at night.
geographical
But the
ignorance
damned
here.
beast
But is
spends
Cardmore a real
all
place?
day slinking around here.
I
You don't like
don't
cats?
think
I
so.
hate cats. They steal the fish from my
I
bucket,
think it's meant to
taking
be
up
an
my
analog
fishing line.
for
The nerves
like there is a
creatures often knock
Carmore,
my
as
bucket
in
complete over, and I've had
it's
to guard
I
it
think
some
it's more
I've
so
told him
in
hundreds of
the
times to
thick part
take
of
me down
France.
on the ferry with him, but he just won't
Although
do
actually,
it.
let me see now. Bear with.
Why does he only captain a small ferry nowadays?
Yeah.
Let
He
me
used
check.
to
I
command
do
a
believe
large
it
merchant
is.
ship,
Yes, it's in
but
Brittany.
then he was dismissed.
Oh, so
That
right,
was
and that
because,
makes sense.
well,
'Cause that's kind
he
of
missed Cape Town
Yeah.
Breton
hard
area.
fog.
That could have happened to anyone.
Now, I
Okay.
don't think it's
True.
necessarily on
Yes,
the
but it so
coast
happens
or
that with
in
him,
the
it was
in an
Brittany.
inlet like
It was
the game is
actually
kind of
seeing
saying here.
double. In
It's
the
actually
fog, he
more.
saw the
It's
shadows of
Carmore is
the
actually in a
Danes
is a
and
forested area,
and ordered his helmsman to
so
Okay.
it's not. It's inland. It's not on the it's not on a
And
port
that was the wrong
or
one.
anything like that. So
Exactly.
they've kind of done what like a
Wasn't
lot of
very
games do, and they
likely.
kind of like take a name
Port
similar
one
to a
bad
town,
Mm.
spot.
like you know how again with
You'd
Broken
better
Sword
keep
you
that
use
to yourself.
Lochmarn because that
He gives
sounds
me
very
the
Irish,
advice
you
to
know, the
think
kind of
he
way.
Yeah.
mentions it.
I understand.
Even though there's actually not necessarily any place in Ireland that sounds like that,
Okay.
you know.
Thank you for your assistance.
No problem. You're welcome.
I think there's another one where, again, in the same series, there's one town in the second game called Quaramonte, and that's very much an analog for something like Colombia or Venezuela or something like that, you know. So it's a name of a town in Brittany, you know.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
here's a fun part, right? So we're trying to get rid of so the crux of the puzzle here is now we need to try and get the fishing rod off Pierre. He won't give it to us. He also has a bucket. So in order to, and he's after complaining about the captain's cat basically stealing all of his chum and all of and whatever stuff he gets for his supper in the evening. So we're gonna try and get the cat basically.
Okie doke.
Yep. And hilarious enough now, I took a pause here. And what I didn't realize that when you take a pause in this game, the game is still moving in real time. So like certain animations stop and so forth, but the characters still move.
Oh.
And basically the reason I'm standing here in particular is because basically when I'm behind these drums and stuff, the cat comes out basically because we're not in that space, you know.
Right.
So I am literally standing here hiding so a cat will appear so I can
We'll
take it.
come towards it.
Yeah. And there's enough, like I missed my chance the first time because I saved the game. I went to make myself a cup of tea, and it didn't get there in time to realize, oh fuck, the cats just walked away. So that
And
was a
again,
lesson
is this
learned.
just like on a random time loop, or is there like a sequence to it?
I think I think it's a random time loop. I think it's I'd say if you're just idle for enough time, the cat does appear.
Okay.
But it is entirely random. I think it's not necessarily a set like stay still for 30 seconds. You know.
There he
See right
is.
now. There's the kitty. And unfortunately, you have to be quick about this. Kitty. And straight in the inventory. Smuggled into the fucking coat pocket.
Captain Deneuve's cat. A rather stubborn beast, and on top of that, it has fleas as well.
Yes, and now you do too. So now, seeing that Pierre let it slip that the cat can be a bit of a mayhem. Boom.
There! Did you see that? Did you see that? It's that damn cat again. She's knocked all my bait in the water. That's the third time this week.
Calm down. You can always get some new baits.
What about my fishing tackle? What about my telescope ultralight 47 for 800 francs? I can't leave it here unguarded. It could be stolen. I'll have to take everything with me, just because of that damned cat.
Don't worry, Pierre. I'll keep an eye on your things.
Would you?
Of course. No problem.
Thank you.
Oh no, I have a feeling we're gonna break the fishing rod now. Poor
Well,
Pierre.
Well, we don't break it as such, but we do certainly take it. Like there's absolutely no doubt about that. Because again, that was the puzzle. You know, for a police detective, he really is an asshole. Like, he does not
Yeah.
protect, he does not serve, he takes everything from people. Like, it's
Now the bucket's hanging from the
not gonna lie,
fishing
it's
rod.
actually kind of impressive to be that much of an expense, or to be that thirsty on resources. So there we go.
And I
This is
feel
all
like
we
there are
wanted.
definitely easier ways of collecting salt than robbing an old man of his expensive like fishing rod, and
Hmm.
then like doing a well system to collect salt.
These are
Yeah.
huge lumps of salt.
Like, for instance, you could have just, like,
Bent
scraped it
over.
off the
It's
whole.
not.
Yeah. You could have just scraped off the hole yourself. You know what I mean? And here's his proof there, by the way. I can't give the fishing rod and bucket back. I keep it.
No, Pierre will never
See,
trust another person.
no, you know, yeah. Like we keep that item for no, and again, there's absolutely no reason for that. It's so unnecessary. Like,
Looks like this used to be
so even the map
tower.
there now, where Carmore is in real life, it's
Looks like
actually
this used to
fairly
be
accurate
tower.
there. But again, it's kind of like
Collapsed.
tweaked where exactly it is in the world. You know. Because that inlet where Normandy is a bit narrower than it should be. So there's yeah, a bit of an estimate at best, I would say. Meanwhile, this is me trying to find something in the around the
Tower.
around the
This
castle.
castle must have been a real fortress before it collapsed.
So if you went center or right, you basically see more of the castle, whereas what you need is on the left-hand side.
Okay, away from the castle.
Pretty much, yeah.
Hmm. Go against all
Iron
instincts in a
gate.
point-and-click puzzle game.
Yes, it does.
It's locked.
Now again, I
I
think it
should
was,
figure that out.
but that's also
Feels like
gamer
I.
instinct as
It's a
well. You know, you
fortified
don't go down the
foundation
obvious
feature.
path first. You go down the least obvious path to see if there's something
Hmm.
down there. And this is something that doesn't work. Using a cardboard report file to Jimmy a lock.
Yep, sure.
Sure, why not?
Great. Yep.
No objections here, Your Honor. This was now in the graveyard of the castle. Ooh,